tutorial in some quirkier and or more difficult gestures or ideas in Logic. And sometimes as a composer, we are working in modern times here and we have to use technology almost all the time to get our stuff done or to get it used in modern media. So we are often, I'd say almost all the time, if not all the time, working in some sort of DAW. And I happen to be working in Logic Pro right now. Um, and as always, no matter what, we're going to have to be dealing with the limitations of the technology. So sometimes we end up getting stuck. And there are some ways around it, and sometimes there are no ways around it. Historically, composers always had this problem. If they were writing for a particular instrument, you would be limited by the limitations. Sorry to sound redundant. You'd be limited by the limitations of the instrument. And often what would happen is instrument makers would try to improve the instrument. And I guess that's still going on. But now we have to try to work with the limitations of samples. And sample libraries are improving all the time. But still, you're going to run into things that they can get you stuck. You know that if you handed it off to a live player, then they would be able to perform it. And now, if you don't have the option of having a live player, you have to program it. So, what can we do? Well, I'm going to say, first of all, you have to know how the instrument's supposed to sound. And this means that you need to have preloaded into your brain and in your ears what is any particular instrument supposed to sound like. So you know that you can write idiosyncratically for that particular instrument. I should say, what's offered nowadays, you have a lot of phrase-based and gestural-based sample libraries. So, for example, I have these runs that I can change. Hold on, I'm trying to change key here. All right, so that is a woodwind section that has been pre-recorded to do major scales. There are different scales, up and down. And of course, that sounds great. It sounds realistic because it is, and it's tempo locked. So if I change the tempo of my track, it will automatically adjust the playback of that. I have a few of them already ready to go here in my template. Octatonic scales, chromatic, some rips. That one's so cool. I love that one. I think that's taken right out of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, I think, or if not, it not lifted directly. It's inspired by. So that's very helpful, and I think the composers, the sample libraries do their best to offer something that's going to be really useful in a broad sense, but it's still not quite enough, because if you're going to use that, you're locked in. So I have that already ready to go in my template. And as you can see, I also have individual short gestures like trills. Hang on here. So that's a measured trill. So that's going to be playing back in time. It's tempo locked. I can see I have some short ones. Different tonguings. Right? That's triple tongue, double tonguing, different articulations, and also some runs. Let's see if I can. Right? But again, you keep getting pigeonholed. You keep getting forced into using what's available. Now, of course, like I was saying it right at the beginning, this is always the case. You're going to be forced into something, even if you have a live player. You're forced into the limitations of their technique and the limitations of that instrument. But it's funny when we're programming, sometimes we can get away around some of the limitations of live players, but it's at the cost of realism. So let's see. Here's what maybe I should think. Here's what I think I should do. Let's find an instrument to. Let's try making a run, a custom run. Let's do it with clarinet. Or how about like a custom flourish in C? So first thing I'm going to do is just do a quick audition. Now I'm pretty confident with what this can do. Just listening back. I think that might be it. All right, so it's just different pieces of this. I'm going to say C major scale. What happened here? There we go. Yeah, there was just different pieces of the C major scale, starting on either the 1 or the 5. And let's just try to make something that's going. I'm gonna end up using a hybrid of the baked-in, pre-made, prefabricated run, and put in pieces here and there of other articulations, so I can generate a run-based flourish or some sort of gesture. So let me just get started with something here. This was a track I was working on earlier. Let me just make sure I'm not going to be interfering with my composition. You know what? I'm going to just make the tempo a little bit faster. Let's go just do something standard like 120. So we'll start at measure 60. Now it's funny, the performance of that one is a little bit lazy. It sounds like the clarinetist starts steady, halfway through he kind of relaxes in the tempo, and then right into the last few notes kind of gets back to the tempo. So that'll be interesting to see how that feels when we're programming. So there is some human element in that. All right, and let's. Now, I'm not necessarily planning on writing something amazing here. I'm just trying to show you how you can weave the bits and pieces of articulations and gestures together to make it sound like something hopefully that's going to be realistic. So that articulation sounded a bit too short. I'm going to go with the normal staccato. And okay, so right now I can hear there's a bit of, it's like the tail of the reverb or even the breath of this run. I can hear the clarinetist breathing through the last note of that run, and it's going right into the first note of this staccato, which is not what a clarinetist would do. But I'm going to have to deal with that. That's just the way it's sounding. Here's what I'm going to try. Just to make it a little more interesting, this beat 1 of 62, I'm going to make it into a trill. That was supposed to play a trill. This one, I think, doesn't fit. So again, I'm listening to what's available. I'm going to go take a look at the performance options I have on my actual sample library. I think I want those runs to go double the speed. I think it's going to give it a little more energy. Let me just check which channel that's in. 4. All right, so it has an auto tempo function that I'm turning off, and that sounds like crap. You know, like you can change the playback speed on some of these, but you can see that the realism suffers sometimes. It almost sounds like there's too much air pressure or something like that, or the attack of each individual note doesn't feel right. Let me turn that auto tempo back on. So this can get pretty tedious, and it's going to take some serious critical listening and comparing against what you already know needs to sound like real. And then that's going to be making you adjust your composition choices. That last run didn't work for me. Yeah, let's just do another one of these. And again, I'm not necessarily going for the most amazing composition. I'm just showing you how you can weave these different articulations together to get something that sounds realistic. All right, so now I'm doing triple tonguing. And so the way that the triple tonguing with this works is, but this is Berlin Woodwinds. It's going to, the note on signal is going to trigger the first tongue, and then the note off signal triggers the second and third articulations. So you have to program the ending and the beginning of the note in just the right spot. I'm going to just make sure that these are a consistent length, and then I'm going to adjust according to the way it sounds. All right, so I sort of made it look like a triplet. The first note of, I guess that'd be an eighth note triplet. All right. Now I'm going to just look at all of these together. And as I'm working here, I'm going to take a close look at the note velocities. You gotta excuse me for a second. I'm just trying to keep this cable out of the way, but it's just tugging on my headphones too much and it's annoying me. I'm going to have the cable in front. All right, so I just have a mistake here. Bad timing. Okay. For musicality, I'm going to just give this a little bit of shape with the note velocities. And actually, hang on. I think I can program a crescendo. Actually, let's have it crescendo and diminuendo. All right, it's too short. Let's just do a crescendo. All right, so as it stands, that sounds like a duet. Like one clarinetist is doing the run, the other one's doing the short articulations. I don't like that. So this needs to be louder. And again, like I was saying before, the sort of the tail end of the clarinetist's breath is bleeding over into the staccato attacks here at the end of measure 61. And there's probably nothing I can do about that. So it might end up just sounding like a duet. If I were adding other instruments to this and some sort of arrangement, that might not be noticeable. My clarinet disappeared. Uh-oh. Hang on. I don't know why it's not playing back now. Hang on. Yes, play. Of course, on a live stream, it's going to give me some technical problem. Well, isn't that nice? Give me 1 second here to figure out what's going on. Well, what can I say? It just decided to... my clarinetist decided he doesn't want to play runs. Let me just see if I can reload. Yeah. I'm just going to try to reload that one patch. There. Hold on. I cannot show you guys that window. It's on a different computer. Let me just try reloading that one particular patch. There we go. Problem solved. All right. All right, so I can hear there's a bit of an intonation issue with that particular trill. All right, you might not have heard the complete performance of that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what style I'm going for. This is in the genre of a MIDI programming tutorial. So with these particular trills, you just have to get everything lined up on the beat, the two notes that you want trilled. Spinning wheel. There we go. So it sounds to me, this sounds a little bit fake here, and it has to do with the timing of the attacks. Let's see if that tightens it up. It's better. And let me give this some expression. Now, it seems like no matter what you do, when you're programming something like this, the seams are going to be showing. But what I'm going to do is maybe add one or two other instruments, and hopefully that will just hide some of the seams. Man, the intonation on this one really sucks. It's so bad that I might just program it to do something else. Okay, I'm going to listen back, see if I can tighten it up a little bit more, and then I'm going to add a very, very simple accompaniment. All right, so the attack on that triple tonguing, a little too much. It's kind of an... Again, the intonation there, I measure 67. I'll live with it. All right, so I mean, it's getting to be somewhat believable, and a lot of it depends on how picky you are and how picky your client might be, and how much time you have. I mean, I could sit here probably for another 2 hours and tweak the different performance parameters of this silly little clarinet thing that I just hogged out of some, MIDI events. A lot of this will be dictated by how much time you have, or how well you know your own samples. I'm sure I can squeeze some more expression out of these, out of this little dinky composition here. But what I'm trying to show you is that if you're using the tools that you have available, you can get something that does sound more or less believable. What I'm going to do is just add some simple accompaniment in the same sort of whimsical style that I'm already getting down here. So perhaps just some bassoon. I think this second run, maybe this should be... Where was the, I had a run on the dominant. Oh no, is it not wanting to play back again? All right, so this is a little bit silly. You can hear that run wants to continue further than my composition wants it to run. Let me see how long that one goes. All right, so since that's happening, what I'm going to do is switch the key of the run, because it had all of the different major scales available. I have to load up this patch again. That's so stupid. There we go. So the particular scale that I wanted, oh shoot, now that's not going to work. Because what I need is a G Mixolydian scale. So I was playing the white notes, just the C major scale starting on G, but actually that's not available to me on this set of runs. There it is. All right, I got lucky. That should work. There we go. So as I'm putting in this super simple bassoon part, I'm going to be listening for where the seams are showing in the clarinet part. I'm going to see if I can cover them up in sort of a musical way. Okay, so it was that breath extending a little bit on the tail of the first run that was bugging me. So I'm going to see. Now, sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. And all of a sudden I realized that my composition is actually in 3/4 time. Whoops. I wasn't even thinking about that when I was writing the little clarinet part. This ought to make a little bit more sense now. All right. Or it's in 3 here, but 3, 1, 2. I tell you what, just so it looks neater, it's actually, we're going to call it 3, 2. There, fine. Fine, Logic, have it your way. All right, this is a masterpiece and genius composition here. All right, and again, a couple of those articulations are bugging me. Better. right. And just to round things out a little bit, I know exactly what I'm going to add. Now it's truly going to be a masterpiece. I'm sort of picturing a slightly overweight troll in the forest somewhere. Perhaps doing troll things. That beat needs the triangle too. All right. So the takeaway here is that, yeah, it can be a little bit tedious to try to program something believable. And you can continue to tweak and tweak and tweak. But with a little bit of knowledge, especially knowledge of how the instrument's supposed to work ahead of time, you can get something that does sound somewhat believable. And the more tweaking you do, the more believable it's going to get. Just the last note here, what I'm doing with these trills. Whoa. I'm just nudging them forward a little bit on the timeline because I want it to sound like the clarinetist is arriving on the beat a little bit more. It seems like there was a delay in the attack on the trill. Still a little bit delayed. So I'm sliding it ahead in the timeline. It seems like they're not all late by the same amount. But you can just nudge the notes around a tiny bit. To get it to sound a little bit more in time. And I'm going to see if I can program a little more expression on that. I don't know, let's have it be a little bit more dramatic. Maybe that is the arrival point right there. There, again, magnum opus, masterpiece. Let's see if we can put a little more expression on these runs. Sometimes too much expression is not going to be musical. Hey. So this is the kind of thing that you can drive yourself a little bit crazy with because, you know, if you just handed this to a clarinetist, they would perform it the first time musically. And you've got to be the guy who spends the time moving around these little lines and dots to make it be musical. Let's put one more bassoon note on that last beat. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, so um, let's call that done, and it's just a demonstration of why when you get your sample packs, a lot of the times you get all of these articulations split out onto different patches, onto different tracks, or allows you to put them all onto different tracks, so that you can do this sort of piecemeal patchwork programming, where in total it adds up to one performance. Right? And again, I'm limited. I couldn't exactly do every single run that I wanted. Right? I was stuck with the ones that I had. I could have used different ones. And there's also in this particular woodwind pack, you get these run transitions that it's kind of like. Now, I didn't end up using that for this composition. It's notes that have been recorded with a lot of slop in them. You can hear that they're slightly detuned, right? And it has that slop built in that a normal player would actually have when they're playing some sort of quick gesture. So that helps too to sort of transition one run into another. But the tempo that I chose for this composition, I don't think lent itself too well to using that. Anyway, so you can program in these flourishes. You're sort of given the puzzle pieces. All right, you're not. Let's say if you were writing for a live ensemble, the puzzle pieces that you're working with, the resolution is one note. Here, the puzzle pieces you're given, the resolution ranges from one note to several notes, and you got to fit the puzzle pieces together. And sometimes you're working with a puzzle piece that's this big. Oh no, I decided not to play again. So the puzzle piece is that big. It's that clarinet C major run up. And other times the puzzle pieces you're given are the size of a trill or a triple tongue, right? Or just a single note, right? So it's just a slightly different way of thinking about putting the musical puzzle together. And I think that's going to be it for now. I hope that was helpful. Clearly, you can get a lot more in depth here. You can spend a lot more time than I did. And the more sophisticated the writing with, additional orchestral layers or more expressive ideas, the more you have to put into this to make it work. And every single different family of instruments and each different sample library responds slightly differently. And it's just a matter of learning the libraries that you have and also getting an understanding of what an instrument is supposed to sound like. So I think I'm going to leave it there for now. Thanks for watching. This is Daniel with A Composer Mindset. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.